7 ways. How kindness will ruin your life. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been told that kindness is the key to everything? That being nice, helping people, putting others first, that's the path to happiness, success, and fulfillment? Well, what if I told you kindness could actually ruin your life? Yep, you heard that right. Now, before you hit pause or roll your eyes, hear me out. Kindness is one of those things we all think we should just keep giving, keep sharing, keep spreading. But what if that very thing, the thing that's supposed to make us better people, ends up holding us back, burning us out, or even pushing people away? It sounds crazy, right? But it's not. Kindness can be a double-edged sword, and I'm here to show you how. Because sometimes when you give too much of it without really thinking about the how and the why, you can end up hurting yourself more than helping anyone. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 7 ways kindness can ruin your life. I'm talking about how being too nice can turn into burnout, how trying to please everyone can rob you of your identity, and how kindness, without boundaries, can leave you feeling like a doormat. Stick around, because if you've ever felt drained, taken advantage of, or just plain lost in your desire to do good, this video might just change the way you look at kindness forever. Section 1. The overextension of kindness, burnout. Self-sacrifice. All right, let's get right into it. The first way kindness can ruin your life, burnout. Have you ever found yourself constantly saying yes to everyone around you? Maybe it's at work, at home, or with your friends. You just can't say no. Someone asks for a favor, and you're the first to volunteer. Someone needs help, and you drop everything to be there. Sounds great, right? After all, we're told to be helpful, to put others first. But here's the catch. There's only so much of you to go around. What happens when you're constantly giving, constantly putting others' needs ahead of your own? You get exhausted, you get drained. You get to a point where your energy is spent, and you're left with nothing in the tank for yourself. And that's when burnout kicks in. It's like running a car with no gas. You can keep going for a while, but eventually you'll hit empty. And here's the kicker. You don't have to be the one running on empty. I mean, what good are you to anyone if you've neglected your own well-being? If you're the kind of person who always says yes, always helps, always sacrifices, there comes a time when you realize you've forgotten how to say no. You've forgotten that you matter too. You've stretched yourself so thin that you're practically invisible in the equation. And here's something that's even harder to admit. When you're constantly pouring into everyone else's cup, but you're not taking care of your own. People don't always notice. They don't always appreciate how much you're doing. You start to feel resentful. That's when the burnout sets in, and it's not just physical. It's emotional, it's mental, and it's real. Takeaway. Kindness isn't about running yourself ragged. It's about knowing that you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take care of yourself first. So if you're always burning the candle at both ends, it's time to rethink your approach. Start by saying no sometimes. Protect your energy. Because at the end of the day, the most kind thing you can do is to protect your own well-being. Section 2. The people-pleasing trap. Losing your true identity. All right, now let's talk about something that many of us don't even realize we're doing, people-pleasing. And I'm not just talking about making small gestures to be kind. I'm talking about losing yourself in the process of trying to make everyone else happy. It's easy to get caught up in this, right? You want to be liked. You want to be seen as nice. You want to help. And over time, you start bending who you are, what you believe, and what you need just to keep the peace. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to disappoint anyone. So you say yes to things you don't want to do. You agree to things that don't align with your values. And all of a sudden, you're not even sure who you are anymore. When you spend all your energy trying to make everyone else happy, you forget about your own happiness. You forget that being kind doesn't mean being subservient to everyone else's needs and expectations. But here's the thing. People-pleasing doesn't actually create true happiness or connection. In fact, it can do the exact opposite. The problem with people-pleasing is that it often comes at the expense of your true self. You're masking who you really are to fit into what others expect of you. And that leads to one thing: resentment. You start feeling trapped in a life that isn't even yours. Ever felt this way? You're doing things for others just to be liked, just to avoid conflict. But deep down, you're not being real with yourself, and that's exhausting. Over time, it erodes your self-esteem, and you start to lose sight of what you actually want. You've traded in your authenticity for approval. But is it really worth it? Takeaway. The kindest thing you can do for yourself, and for others, is to stop pretending. Kindness should never come at the cost of your own identity. You can't be everything to everyone, and trying to be is a recipe for self-betrayal. Be real. Be authentic. Your true kindness lies in embracing who you really are, not who you think others want you to be. Section 3. Kindness can enable toxic behaviors. The nice guy syndrome. All right, let's get real for a minute. We've all heard of the nice guy or the nice girl. You know, the person who's always there for others, who goes out of their way to help, to be kind, to show up. But here's the thing. Sometimes, that very kindness can end up enabling toxic behavior. Now, don't get me wrong, being nice and generous is a good thing. But what happens when you're constantly giving, always bending over backwards, and someone takes that for granted? Or worse, when someone actually uses your kindness as a way to get what they want? That's where the problem lies. Think about it. You're the person who always listens, who always offers help, who doesn't ask for anything in return. But instead of showing gratitude, the people around you just keep taking. They might even be rude, ungrateful, or let's be honest, downright manipulative. But you keep being nice. You keep enabling their bad behavior because you don't want to rock the boat. The classic example is the person who stays in a toxic relationship, whether it's with a friend, a partner, or even a coworker, because they're always trying to be the good person. They give and give, but the other person doesn't change. In fact, they might just get worse. And what do you get in return? Resentment, exhaustion, and the painful realization that your kindness was misused. It's hard, right? You don't want to be mean. You don't want to let someone down. But sometimes, kindness can actually enable toxic people to keep doing what they're doing. When you tolerate bad behavior in the name of kindness, you're not helping anyone. In fact, you're preventing them from growing or facing the consequences of their actions. Takeaway. Being kind shouldn't mean enabling people to treat you poorly. Kindness is not about putting up with bad behavior just to keep the peace. True kindness is about challenging people to be better, even if it means standing up for yourself and saying, "Enough is enough." Section 4. When kindness becomes a manipulative tool. Here's a tough one. Sometimes kindness doesn't come from a pure place at all. In fact, it can be used as a tool for manipulation. And no, I'm not talking about people who are malicious or out to harm you. I'm talking about the way that some people use kindness to get something in return, even if it's unspoken. Think about it. Have you ever done something nice for someone, only to later feel like they owe you something? Or maybe you've been on the receiving end. Someone's done something kind for you, and then suddenly you're stuck feeling guilty because you know they want something in return. That's when kindness crosses the line into manipulation. It's when a favor or a nice gesture is given, not out of genuine care, but because there's an unspoken expectation behind it. The nice guy or the nice girl acts like they're doing you a favor, but in reality, they're setting you up to feel indebted, to feel like you owe them. It's subtle, but it happens all the time. Here's the issue. When kindness is used this way, it creates a power imbalance. You start feeling like you're obligated to return the favor, even when you don't want to. And if you don't, that's when guilt and resentment start to creep in. It's a dangerous game, because what starts off as a small favor or kind gesture can quickly turn into a transactional relationship, where every nice thing is done with strings attached. And that's not real kindness. That's manipulation dressed up as generosity. Takeaway: kindness should never come with a price tag. If you're being kind because you want something in return, you're not really being kind at all. True kindness is selfless. It's about giving without expecting anything back. If kindness feels like a currency, it's time to check your motives. Section 5. The kindness versus justice. Dilemma. Now, this is where kindness gets really tricky. The next way kindness can ruin your life is when it gets in the way of doing what's just. We've all been in situations where we know something isn't right. Maybe it's at work. Maybe it's in your personal life. Or maybe it's something happening in the world around you. And we feel this pressure to be kind, to keep the peace, to avoid conflict. But in doing so, we ignore the need for justice. Let's say someone at work is treating you or others poorly, being rude, dismissive, maybe even crossing some serious lines. The kind thing to do might seem like staying quiet, not rocking the boat, or maybe even just letting it slide so you don't make things worse. Or in relationships, when someone crosses boundaries, instead of standing firm, you tell yourself, I don't want to cause any tension, I'll just be nice and let it go. But here's the thing. Kindness is not the same as justice. Being nice can sometimes mean letting people get away with things they shouldn't, and by doing that, you're not being kind at all. What you're actually doing is enabling injustice, because you're ignoring the problem and not holding people accountable for their actions. It's hard to stand up for what's right, especially when it feels easier to just stay quiet. But if you constantly let things slide in the name of kindness, you might end up perpetuating harmful systems or behaviors, and worse, you're hurting yourself in the process. Imagine how different things could be if, instead of being nice, you chose to be honest and stand up for what's right. It's tough, I know, but true kindness doesn't mean ignoring the truth. It means doing what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. Takeaway: kindness is important, but don't let it blind you to justice. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is confront wrongdoing and hold people accountable. Don't let your desire to keep the peace prevent you from fighting for what's right. Section 6. Kindness as a mask for avoiding conflict. All right, let's dig a little deeper. This next one. It's something that a lot of us probably don't even realize we're doing. You know when you're so focused on being kind that you avoid all those uncomfortable conversations? You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, right? So you hold back the truth. You bite your tongue. You let things slide. And deep down, you know it's only going to cause more problems later. We've all done it. Maybe it's a difficult conversation with a friend, a partner, or even a coworker. You don't want to rock the boat, so you choose the nice route. You let things go even when you know it's not okay. You avoid conflict because, well, it feels safer. Kindness becomes your shield to avoid confrontation, to avoid being seen as mean or harsh. But here's the hard truth. Avoiding conflict is not kindness. It's fear dressed up as kindness. And over time, this fear starts to wear you down. Because when you don't address issues, when you keep putting off the tough conversations, resentment builds. It festers. And one day, that small thing you didn't want to confront becomes this big, impossible-to-ignore problem. Think about it. If you're constantly using kindness as a way to avoid speaking your truth, to avoid being real with someone, what's really happening is you're hurting both of you. You're depriving the other person of the opportunity to understand you, to know where you stand, and you're not being true to yourself. That's a dangerous place to be. You're not being honest, and that's where things start to break down. Takeaway. The kindest thing you can do for yourself and for others is to have the courage to speak up. Real kindness is about honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Don't let fear of conflict keep you from having the tough, necessary conversations. That's where true growth happens. Section 7. Kindness without boundaries, becoming a doormat. All right, here we are. The final way kindness can ruin your life. And honestly, it might hit home for a lot of you. It's when kindness goes unchecked, when there are no boundaries, when you're so focused on being nice that you let others walk all over you, when you turn into a human doormat just because you don't want to say no. I get it. Saying no feels harsh, right? You don't want to disappoint anyone. You don't want to seem rude or selfish. So you keep saying yes to every request, every favor, every task, every obligation, until you feel like you're drowning in everyone else's expectations. And at some point, you stop asking yourself what you need, what you want. You're too busy trying to meet the needs of everyone around you. But here's the painful truth. If you never set boundaries, people will take advantage of you. It's not that they mean to be malicious, but they'll sense your willingness to say yes, and they'll keep asking for more until there's nothing left of you to give. It might seem harmless at first. You help someone out with a small favor, and it feels good. But then the favors get bigger, more frequent, and suddenly you're giving so much of yourself that you have nothing left to give to yourself. You're drained. You're resentful. And worst of all, you're feeling invisible, like your needs and your time don't matter as much as others. But here's the kicker. People aren't mind readers. They don't always know that you're overburdened, that you're running on empty. They don't know that you're struggling. If you're constantly saying yes, they'll just keep asking. And in the process, you lose yourself. This is the part where kindness can really backfire. You might be trying to be a good person, but if you don't put up healthy boundaries, you end up exhausted, frustrated, and unappreciated. And that's not really kindness anymore, is it? Takeaway. Kindness without boundaries is like a river without banks. It'll flood everything in its path. It's okay to say no. It's okay to put yourself first sometimes. Setting clear boundaries doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a healthy person. Protect your time, your energy, and your peace. Because when you give too much, you'll eventually have nothing left to give. And that's the last thing anyone wants. Conclusion. Wrapping it up. Finding the right kindness balance. All right, we've come a long way, haven't we? And I know we've covered a lot of ground. How kindness can sometimes hurt more than help. How it can leave us exhausted, taken advantage of, or even out of touch with who we truly are. But here's the real takeaway. Kindness is amazing, but it's also fragile. The more we give, the more we need to make sure we're giving from a place of health and balance, not from a place of desperation or fear. Being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. It doesn't mean losing yourself in other people's needs. And it sure doesn't mean always saying yes just because you don't want to upset anyone. True kindness, real kindness, is about setting boundaries, being honest, and taking care of yourself first. When you're at your best, that's when your kindness truly shines. If you've been feeling drained, unappreciated, or stuck in that cycle of people-pleasing, it's time to rethink what kindness looks like in your life. It's time to remember that you are worthy of kindness too. You deserve peace. You deserve to protect your energy. And you absolutely deserve to live a life where you're not constantly burning yourself out for others. So, here's your challenge. Start small. Practice saying no when you need to. Speak up when something doesn't sit right with you. And take some time every day to check in with yourself, to make sure you're not sacrificing your own peace and joy in the name of kindness. Remember, true kindness starts with kindness to yourself. Final takeaway. You don't have to choose between being kind and taking care of yourself. In fact, you can't truly be kind to others if you're not kind to yourself first. So, take a step back, set some boundaries, and don't be afraid to protect your peace. Because when you do, the kindness you offer will be more powerful, more meaningful, and more sustainable in the long run. Thank you so much for watching. And if this video resonated with you, let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. Have you ever been in a situation where kindness ended up hurting you? Or do you struggle with setting boundaries? I'd love to hear your thoughts, because you're not alone. We're all learning how to balance kindness in a way that helps, not hinders. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care of yourself, stay strong, and remember, you deserve to be kind to yourself as much as you are to others.